Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Now this one's an odd one. Sometimes when I'm looking for something to do, I'll jump onto like YouTube and check and hit explore and just see if anything's trending. That's how I kind of discovered the weekends video that I did recently. And I was clicking through and I found this group. They're called Sserafim, which I guess is French for the angel maybe or something like that. Or some kind of angel. In a roundabout way. A song called Fearless, which has been up for 2 days and has something like 26 million views or something like that. And when I see that, and it's an artist I'm not familiar with, it makes me feel old and useless. So I got to dive in and find out who this is. Now, if you're new to the channel, if this is like, if you're here for this video, typically the kind of stuff I react to is things like heavy metal songs, particularly extreme metal with a lot of kind of vocals. Quickly moved into sort of some classical stuff with Dimash and some a cappella sort of things. Fell down a Japanese rabbit hole a while back with Japanese rock and metal bands, and which is still ongoing. And so there's a lot of diversity to what I do, but I have no idea what this is, and I'm really curious to find out if this will fit in with what I do or if, you know, whatever. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this stuff, whatever it might be. But I just know typically things don't get, you know, tens of millions of views without me having heard of them, unless there's something going on there that I, you know, there's got to be something there, right? It can't be nothing, right? And let's see if we can find out what that is together. Here we go. This is Le Sserafim. Fearless official music video. Here we go. Okay. I get it. Right.
제일 높은 곳에 난 그 원해는 있어 내 answer 내 혈관 속에 날뛰는 new wave 내 거대한 passion 관심 없어 과거에 모두가 알고 있는 거 trouble I'm fearless a new beach new crazy all I got next one Baby 저 highway 멋진 결말에 닿게 내 힘들도 나의
Okay, so clearly it's K-pop. I'm assuming they're Korean. They look Korean to me rather than Japanese. But, okay, so it's a 5-piece girl group. But this is a tasty jam. I'm really digging it. Like, what's interesting about it from a compositional point of view is the backing is almost negligible. It sounds phenomenal, like the fatness of that bass sound and the kit. It's like an 808 kit, but a little bit tweaked. It's to be super punchy. So you've got this dichotomy of a super low end punch, like club mix kind of subwoofer bouncing kind of hit. And then you've got like soft sort of breathy vocals over the top. And that's always a really good combo. But it's interesting because it's just sort of it's just bass guitar, but it's just vamping on a single note. There's no chords that I could hear, so to speak. It's, I mean, it is, but it's kind of like a, it's whatever it is. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's just vamping on like an A, right? Which is essentially a clever way of just sitting there. But if you tried to get a bass player to do that, they'd laugh at you. They really want to throw in the... or whatever the case may be. And then I noticed it goes into like a pre-chorus after that. And then like it sort of gives way to sort of a semi-chorus. It's like the chorus is like split in half. And half of it's pre-chorus. It doesn't sort of move much beyond that single note thing. Not that it needs to. There's songs out there that are a single chord, you know, and they're hits. It's more about the melody, the textures, that funky bass line thing. And this is clearly a song that's written to be danced to, which makes sense because these girls are clearly dancers, right?
높은 곳에 난 닿기 원해 느껴서 내 answer 내 혈관 속에 날뛰는 new wave 내 거대한 passion 관심 없어 과거에 모두가 알고 있는 거 trouble I'm fearless a new bitch new crazy all I got next one Baby 저 highway 멋진 결말에 닿게 내 형집도 나의
So this is like a chorus, I guess.
What you looking at? 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 I'm fearless. You should get away, get away. 다치지 않게, 다치지 않게. You should get away, get away. I'm fearless. 욕심을 숨기라니 말들은 이상해.
That's cool. I like that.
겸손의 연기 같은 건 더 이상 안 해. 'Cause you're forever with the
Yeah, definitely K-pop. It doesn't sound Japanese at all. I mean, look, that may have sounded like ignorant to some people, but honestly, from Australia, we don't get exposed to a lot of Asian culture, so it's a little bit tougher to tell some of these cultures apart. But I tend to be reasonably good at it. Yeah, but either way, this is cool. If this is what K-pop is, sign me up. Because, like, look, I come from a background. I used to work at a studio years ago where there was a certain amount of songwriting involved, and so we would always keep up on current sort of Western pop trends. And so we'd listen to a lot of pop music, even though it's not typically our bread and butter, but like it's important to have an understanding of what makes a great Celine Dion song, what makes a great NSYNC or Backstreet Boys song, or in this case, the Sserafim song, because, you know, it all sort of flows on from each other. You know, you got to have all of those things in your arsenal. One of my favorite composers of all time is Max Martin, who this could have easily been written by, you know. He's very, very good at the whole keep it simple, make it punchy. And, you know, he's got a lot of rules, like getting to the chorus within the first 30 seconds or something like that, whatever it might be. There's all of these little pop rules that you need to know if you want to write good pop songs. And so far, this is just beautifully distilled down 100% pop sort of cheesiness, but in the best possible way, if that makes sense. Like it's just catchy as hell. You can't be walking down the street with it not be like do, you know. Obviously the girls are beautiful. That doesn't hurt. Let me know who they are. They've probably all got different personalities and things like that. These things tend to happen. But I'm literally, as far as K-pop goes, I've got a friend who would love me to get into this stuff, but I just never have. And so he's always like, you should listen to this, listen to that. And I mean, it starts all sounding the same to me to a degree, but that could be because I haven't been guided the right way, or haven't sort of sat down and analyzed the songs in the same way I found a passion for extreme vocals by sitting down and analyzing the singers and what they do. You know, I'm sure there's a lot to learn about K-pop and stuff, and I'm a bit of a music nerd, so point me in some directions, people.
욕심을 숨기라니 말들은 이상해. 겸손의 연기 같은 건 더 이상 안 해. 'Cause you're forever with the girl, ayy. 가슴 밖에서 제일 내게, ayy. 내 밑으로 좋아 린세게, ayy. Take the word, break it down, down.
So if you're a composer of pop music, or you aspire to be someone like this, one of the key takeaways from that moment there, that lady's solo, is the groove that was put on that melody in that moment, and the variations on groove, because you got to remember the rhythm is all the way through. That doesn't change. And if you don't play around with that melody, like rhythmically over the top, then it gets boring really quickly. If you just sing the same melody along that the whole time, you don't have a song. You know what I mean? You've got essentially a 3.5 or 4 minute song with 2 minutes worth of ideas. And so the idea is to learn to fight against that groove, or even if the groove is super funky, sing straight 1, 2, 3, 4 over top, and then that makes you fall into a groove. But like, listen to this solo. She's singing a lot on the ands. The accents are in between beats and stuff like that. And that's kind of what groove is. So if you think about a beat like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. If you're singing on the ands, you're off the beat and you're grooving. And you can get real tricky and you can start putting like syllables on. If you look at sixteenths, it's counted as a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E. If you're putting a beat on a E or a 1E and a 2E, suddenly you can sort of make these really complex grooves over the top of a really straight 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba 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 da ba 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 da ba 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 da. You know, so if you learn how to sort of find, it's less about counting in your head, more about feeling it. You know, you can feel how to break up those stagnant rhythms in really interesting and sort of complex ways. That's cool too. So you got, again, writing a successful pop song is about finding new ways to deliver the same message throughout the 3 or 4 minutes of the song. Because otherwise, again, it gets boring, right? Now listen to the dynamic change between this part. Loud, big, oh, bop, 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 right? And then now when you listen to, it transitions over to the next part, which I don't know if it's a breakdown or another verse or something. It becomes really close and intimate and, breathy right up on the microphone. And it goes from them shouting at you across the room to all of a sudden, I'm right here whispering in your ear. And it's like the ideas haven't changed much. The way that they're portraying the ideas make it interesting, and it sort of takes you out of your comfort zone. This is best experienced if you're listening to headphones. This is the dynamic shift. Ready? Right up in your ears now, right? There's even what you looking at, like backing vocals in there as well underneath the main vocal, just to sort of breathy it up a little bit more. What you looking at, what you looking at, what you looking at, what you looking at. I'm fearless, huh? You should get away, get away. 다치지 않게, 다치지 않게. You should get away, get away. I'm fearless, huh? I'm fearless, huh? 저는 없어 패배 준비 끊어 payback bring it 당장 내게 I'm fearless, huh? Cool. What you looking at? 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 I'm fearless, huh? You should get away, get away. 다치지 않게, 다치지 않게. You should get away, get away. I'm fearless, huh? Oh, is there more?
The Sserafim.
Ah, okay. Wow, okay. Hang around after the break and I'll give you a bit more of a rundown of my final thoughts. Hey guys, this video was made possible by Enchroma. 1 in 6 guys and 1 in 200 women are colorblind, and if that happens to be you, there's something you can do about it. Click the link in the description, it'll take you to Enchroma's website where you can get a free eye test. And while you're there, maybe pick up some corrective lenses. They've got styles to suit everybody and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you got really nothing to lose. And while you're there, use the code CHAOS in checkout to get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you. Le Sserafim. Okay. Started out having no concept of who they are, and now I feel like I know quite a bit about them just from that sort of few minutes of listening. Exactly 3 minutes. It is literally pop by numbers, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because as a fan of, like, analyzing pop music and popular culture, that's exactly what you want. They've literally everything you could possibly do right in a pop song has been done here. And I'm talking more about the producers and all the writers and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure exactly how these pieces come together with these guys. But look, you've got great talent, amazing looking girls who seem to have a lot of personality, and all that sort of stuff, which is, it's hard to tell from these music videos. But great voices. In the same, it reminds me a lot of, if you're old enough to remember the Pussycat Dolls, that was kind of their vibe, right? They were clearly dancers who sang as well. And so you get these like really tight pop vocals, a lot of great harmonies, heaps of tonal variation, heaps of rhythmic variation, heaps of dynamic variation, going from, like I said, really loud vocals to quiet up close and personal vocals. This is just literally an amazingly produced track by a great group. I would love to see the behind the scenes. I want to know more about how these are put together, because like, again, I'm sort of an interloper. I don't know anything about K-pop or J-pop as a genre. Maybe I should start diving into this, because what this is, there was a point in pop music in the West where, because originally you had bands like New Kids on the Block. They were kind of a group, one of the first boy bands that sort of really took the world by storm. And then you sort of got through the 90s and you had a lot of British boy bands sort of taking to the scene, you know, like Westlife and particularly Take That, because they had just interesting characters in the band. Robbie Williams was one of them. And then America sort of had their go at it with the Backstreet Boys, and NSYNC and all those. And what it was is, like, over the progression of the years from point A to point B, there became like a system of writing pop music for boy bands and groups and vocal groups. Spice Girls, who could forget Spice Girls, obviously. And, you know, as songwriters, as a community, we typically all sit around and nerd out over really well-written pop songs, because the dream is to be able to be one of those people who can write songs that will become hits, right? Not for everybody, obviously, but for those of us who do a little bit of composition and dabble in that sort of stuff, you wonder, there must be a system, there must be magic to it. Otherwise, Max Martin wouldn't have the hundreds of number one hits that he has under his name, right? There's got to be a system. There's got to be a code that you can crack, right? And so over time, pop music became more and more distilled down to a formula, which is something that sets a lot of people's teeth on edge. But to me personally, that formula is important. It's vital to sort of understand how these things are put together and how they work, right? So it's kind of like solving a puzzle. If you can, you know, everybody goes, they look at somebody like, say, Britney Spears, for example, they go, anyone could write that shit. If they could, they would. Pop music is a lot harder than you might think it is, because you can't just go out on, you know, whatever whim you feel like, you know, taking, or whatever angle, whatever flourish you want to put in, because if it falls outside of the popular music aesthetic, people aren't going to be interested in it. You know, it has to fall within guidelines. It has to fit. And while doing that, still be completely new and original and like nothing anyone's ever heard before, right? It's a quandary. It really is. And so the funny thing about, like, this is kind of where that sort of formulaic pop songwriting has ended up. And nobody has distilled it down to its purest form more than from what I can tell, the Asian market, right? These guys have figured it out, and they know exactly how to do it. They know how to produce amazing pop. And not just that, right? Like, I listen to bands like Guicharic Spin from Japan, Bandmade. There's a bunch of others I can't think of right off the top of my tongue. But for whatever genre they decide that they want to go down, they're just the best at it, right? They just figure it out. They work out what makes it tick, and then they figure out how to perform it as well as, if not better than, anybody else who's doing it. And I'm constantly surprised, right? And so that's the same thing that's happened here. This is like distilled down, like it's like they were trying to make sugar and they came up with something more intense than that, you know, like it's just a perfect art piece of production it's like literally the final vector where everything converges It starts with rough edges and it comes together and it gets focused and focused and focused and focused until finally it's a single point of light. And that's what this is when you're talking about like pop music written for the pop market. I gotta take my hat off to it. It's brilliant. It really is. I'm impressed. And you know what? Aside from all of that rhetoric and all that nonsense, it's just a good song. Like if this song comes on in the club, girls around the world are gonna be like, this is my jam, and they're gonna hit the dance floor. And that's all you need. If you can get that, you've won, right? This is cool. Let me know more about these guys in the comments. Let me know more about the genre, where else I should take it. I know there's a lot of fans of the genre out there who might be able to lead me on the right trajectory. Who knows? I might even make a separate playlist for this stuff because I do have a lot of diehard metal fans that may not be so much into this stuff on my channel. And I'm always worried that people are going to be, offended by, by the different choices I've been making lately. So, yeah, but if you appreciate this, if you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to just buy me a coffee. Support the channel just by buying me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. Or like, share, follow, subscribe. If there's any sort of vlogs or blogs or chat groups or whatever, the kids are doing these days, feel free to post this reaction up there as well. The more eyeballs that see it, the more of a chance I've got of continuing this journey, right? So anyway, appreciate all you guys. Thank you for sticking around this long, and I'll catch you in the next one.